are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good. We'll wait just a couple more minutes on Olivia and Avery. Not Olivia and Avery, on Avery and Alexis. But what we're going to start out with, if y'all want to go ahead and get your books ready, we're going to start out with checking our homework on lesson 3, which starts on page 7. So if you want to turn in your book to page 7, we'll go over those answers in just a minute. Then we'll kind of talk about our plan on where we're going and what we're doing, because we're about to finish up this section. And so we'll be talking about how we're going to handle our chapter review and our first test and all that good stuff. Here comes Alexis. There we go. All righty. We have got everybody together. So what we're going to do first is we are going to go ahead and check our homework. So hopefully everybody got everything uploaded okay and didn't have any trouble with that. And so now we're going to actually check our homework. So what I would like you to do when we check our homework, I'm going to call out the answers. And if you miss something, I want you to circle it, highlight it, mark it somehow so you can go back and make corrections. If you've missed something or you've made a mistake on something, it's always important to go back and fix it, correct it, make sure you understand it, because if you don't do that, then when it comes test time, if you didn't learn what you needed to learn, then you're going to have trouble with it on the test too. Okay, so that's the purpose in kind of going through the homework questions as we go through them. Excuse me. I'll ask if anybody has any questions. If there's something that you would like me to work out, I am more than happy to work through it. If you need me to repeat something, just let me know I need to repeat it. But we'll kind of go through that way. Okay. So we're going to be starting on page 7. So page 7 in your textbook, activities 3. One of the hard things about this book is they do not number items. So I will always be telling you if we'll be reading the answers from top to bottom in a column or if we'll be going from side to side, okay? So on page 7, we're gonna start on that left-hand column and we're gonna go from top to bottom, okay? So the left-hand column from top to bottom, we'll go through those answers first and then we'll do the right-hand column. So this is on page 7, activities 2, okay? Do you need a minute, Alexis, or are you good?
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So left-hand column, we'll be going from top to bottom. Like I said, if you need me to repeat something, just figure out how you want to mark it so you know that you need to go back and make those corrections. And we can, like I said, if you see something and you really don't know why you missed it or how you missed it, let me know and we'll go through it and work it together. Okay. Did everybody have a good weekend? Everybody feeling better about the school year? You kind of went through your whole first week. You kind of know what to expect. You know what's going on. And hopefully this week will be a little bit easier. Oh, one thing that I will mention before we go through answers. I sent an email last night. I think some of you, I have your emails. Most of you, I think it's parents. If you want me to send emails directly to you as well, please let me know your email address to add. But I sent an email saying that talking about uploading homework, that you only have to upload it to the effort portion of the, like for each date, there's an effort and an accuracy tab. You only have to upload it to the effort. I'll pull it out of there to go to the accuracy. So you only have to upload it to one place. If you want to upload it to both, go ahead, but you don't have to. The second part of it was that I put on there my YouTube address. So you can click on the link to my YouTube account if you want to go ahead and like it or subscribe to it or whatever it's called. Then that way, that is where I will be posting our videos each day. So like if for some reason you had to leave earlier, if you're sick and you're not able to log in, or if you just needed to review a lesson. Let's say that you finished, we finished class and you're just still not sure about something. Sometimes it may be that your parents want to log in and kind of go through how we learned something to help, so they can help you. So that's kind of what those are for. I don't want you to have to wait on me to email you the link. So they will be public on my YouTube channel. So in the email that I sent last night, that YouTube channel is on there, so you can go and each day I should have videos posted by 4 o'clock. It takes a little bit of time. Once I finish teaching, I've got to upload them and get them posted and everything. So anyway, but usually by 4, probably earlier than that. But just know that anytime you're looking for a video, just go straight to my YouTube account. You don't have to ask me for it. They'll be posted, okay? And then the last thing in that email was the links for the Monday and Thursday classes, okay? So that way, that'll be an important email to hang on to, because that will be our links for any time that we're logging in this year from home. You'll be able to log in using those links. So that'll be an email that you'll want to hang on to, okay? Excuse me. Alrighty, let's go ahead and look over these homework answers. Again, this is page 7, left-hand column. We're going from top to bottom, okay? All right, so the first one is going to be positive 16. Underneath that, positive 2. Underneath that, negative 16. Underneath that, negative 2. Underneath that, positive 130. Underneath that, negative 24. And then the last one in that column, positive 16. Any of those you need me to repeat? Any of those you would like me to work? Okay, let's go down the right-hand column. Right-hand column starting at the top. The first one is positive 2. Underneath that, positive 24. Then I have negative 130. Then negative 155. Then I have negative 155 again. Underneath that is positive 155. And then positive 155 again. Any of those you need me to repeat or work? Awesome. All righty, so that was, oh, where's my notebook? Okay, so that was activities 2, page 7. Now let's go to page 8. Let's look at activities 3. So page 8, activities 3, we just did the first 2. That was estimation. All right, so the first one, we needed to go ahead and it said estimate the sum by rounding to the nearest hundred. So the first thing we should have done was round 619 to 600, and 884 would round to 900, and 600 plus 900 is 1,500. And then the next one, 198 would round to 200. 707 would round to 700, and 200 plus 700 is 900. Any questions on estimation and rounding? Everybody good? All righty. Now we had activities 4. We did the first 3 of each row. So what we'll do going over these answers is I will do the first row, 1, 2, 3. Second row, 1, 2, 3. Third row, and then fourth row. Okay. So we'll do the addition ones first. So, all right. So our addition row, the first one is 19,905. 19,905. The one next to that is going to be 20,460. 20,000, 460. And then the last one, 20,717. 20,717. Any questions in that top row? All righty. The row below that, dealing with subtraction. The first one will be 1,424. 1,424. The one next to it will be 4,137. 4,137. And then the third one is 287. 287. Any questions? All right, below that we are multiplying. Multiplying, so the first one will be 1,568, 1,568. The next one is 816. My phone, there's something that I say when I'm teaching math that my phone keeps picking up as something that it's trying to tell me. Sorry. The second one in the multiplication row is 816. The third one is 5,880. 5,880. Questions? All right, then our bottom row, division. The first one is 22. The next one is 18. And the third one is 4. Any questions on that? Okay, just practicing our good old addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, trying to get us kind of getting our brain going again after we've been out for so long. Just trying to work on those basic skills. All righty. So then we had page 11, activities 3. So we'll jump on over to page 11. Activities 3, we were working with our positive and negative signs. So, activities 3, make sure I'm on the right page. That was with lesson 5. Okay, we'll go down the left-hand column first and then the right hand. Okay, on the left-hand side, the first one is positive 22. Underneath that is positive 11. Then I have positive 8. Then positive 52, positive 40, and positive 50. Any questions about any of those? All right, right-hand column. The first one is positive 21. Underneath that will be negative 55, positive 33, positive 7, positive 9, positive 19. Any questions about that side? All right, one of the things I do want to mention is as we're going through these, if for some reason, if you're not comfortable unmuting and saying, hey, I've got a question, you can always ask me questions when we take our break in between our 2 class periods. If you want to hang around and ask me questions then, that is great. And then the other thing is if you want to, when we're logging off at the end of the day, excuse me, if you want to stick around at the end of class and ask me questions, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So always know that if you have questions, be sure to let me know, okay? All righty, so let's kind of review a little bit what we talked about last Thursday. We had worked with our signed numbers. So let's review our rules for adding positives and negatives, okay? Adding positives and negatives. when I add two positives, what kind of solution am I going to have?
Positive.
Positive. When I add two negatives, what kind of solution am I going to have?
Positive.
Okay, adding two negatives, it's just going to be a
Okay.
larger negative. When I multiply two negatives or divide two negatives, it is positive. That is one of the trickiest ones that we just have to remember. It's just one of those things we have to learn. If I'm adding two negatives, I'm going to have a bigger negative answer. I keep my sign and then add the numbers together, okay? If I'm adding a positive and a negative, opposite signs, what sign do I take in my answer? I'm going to take the sign of the larger value. Okay, so if I'm adding a positive and a negative, I look to see what my bigger number is and what is my sign in front of that bigger number. So that's the sign I keep for my answer, and then I find the difference of the numbers. So take the sign of the larger, find the difference. Now multiplying and dividing, if my signs are the same, what kind of answer am I going to have? I'm going to have a positive answer if I'm multiplying and my signs are the same, multiplying or dividing. But if they're opposite signs, I'm going to have a negative answer. Okay, again, this is something that we'll continue practicing with. I'm doing the same thing with my Algebra 1 class. So this is something you'll see again. We'll start out the year practicing with it and kind of getting, again, just like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, working with positives and negatives. It's one of those things where if you haven't worked with it in a while, you kind of have to remember through those steps and remember through the rules. So that's what we'll keep practicing with that. All right, lesson 5, we went on to absolute value. Okay, so let's think about absolute value for a minute. What did I tell you I want you to picture in your head when you think about absolute value? What image do I want you to have?
Number line.
A number line, good. And so with our number line, we know we've got a line, it's got the arrows on the end, it's got 0 in the middle. To the right-hand side, we've got our positives. To the left-hand side, we've got our negatives. Okay, so when we talk about absolute value is the distance of a number from 0 on the number line. Okay, so whether it's positive or negative number, it's going to be a positive distance from 0. Okay, so we talked about how depending on what our signs look at, like, let me go ahead and get my iPad going. All right, so let me go to Notability. Let's start a new note. Okay, so when we were talking about absolute value, we said it's the distance. Wow, where'd it go? Oh my. I gotta watch laying my hand on there. Okay, we said it's the distance from 0 on the number line. So if I'm talking about, and we talked about how our sign is like those two lines, and then we'll have a number in the middle. So let's say my number is 52. If I'm talking about the absolute value of 52, that means how many places from 0 is 52 on the number line? So it is 52 places from 0. Same thing, if I have negative 52, and I said how many places is negative 52 from 0 on the number line? Negative 52 is also 52 places from 0. So remember that as long as that negative is inside those absolute value signs, I'm going to be dealing with a positive solution. Now this is going to be different. okay? The way that I look at this is read the opposite of the absolute value of 52. The opposite of the absolute value of 52. So the first thing I have to look at is, what is the absolute value of 52? And the absolute value of 52 is 52. But now I need to take the opposite of 52. And the opposite of 52 is negative 52. So that is why my solution here is going to be negative. It's because my negative sign is outside of my absolute value. Okay, is everybody good with that? Okay, and then the same thing, if I had the opposite of the absolute value of negative 52. Again, the absolute value of negative 52 is a positive 52, but then the opposite of 52 is negative 52. So again, this answer would be negative 52. When I'm dealing with that negative in front of the absolute value sign, whether my inside has a negative or not, my answer will still be negative. Is everybody good with that? I know we're kind of going through a lot of rules, especially with the positives and negatives and everything like that. And so these are kind of the foundations of what we need to learn for working through things in algebra. Okay, so that's why we're spending a lot of time on this, to make sure we understand. Yes, so if there's a negative on the outside, my solution will be negative because it is read as the opposite of whatever. Okay, so the absolute value is going to be positive, but the opposite of that positive value is a negative. So if you see that negative on the outside, it's going to be a negative answer. Okay, so again, these are just the rules that we're working on. These are the rules that we're practicing with so we can have this good foundation. All right. All right, so that was dealing with our absolute value. Quick little review. Any questions about that? Anything that you're unsure about? Okay. Then what we will do is go ahead and turn to lesson 6 in our textbook, dealing with factors. Lesson 6 starts on page 13, dealing with factors. Let me pull up our pages. Okay. All right, so dealing with factors. All right, so it says a factor is a natural number. So I'm going to stop right there. Think about when we talked about our different types of numbers. What is a natural number? Does anybody remember what natural numbers are? Those are our counting numbers. Those were the first numbers that you guys learned as a little bitty kid. And they started when you started counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know natural numbers starting with 1, they're all positive. Okay, so those are natural numbers. So a factor is a natural number that divides into another number with no remainder. Okay, so a factor is a number that divides into another number with no remainder. So if we look at the example they've given us, 4 is a factor of 12 because 12 divided by 4 equals 3. I can divide 12 by 4 and I get an answer with no remainder. Okay, it goes in there evenly. From this example, we can see that 3 is also a factor of 12. So then it says all the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Okay, so basically when I'm talking about factors, I'm talking about what numbers multiply together to make a number. So let's think about this for a minute. One of the things I always want to start with is 1 times whatever, okay? So when we're talking about 6, we know we have 1 times 6, right? 1 times 6, those are factors of 6. What kind of number is 6? Is it even or odd? It's even, isn't it? So we know it's divisible by 2. So we know we have 2 times 3. Is there anything else that can multiply together? Very good. So now once I've listed these out, I'm going to go ahead and list my factors as 1, 2, 3, and 6. I'm going to list them in order from least to greatest. So we find that we have 1, 2, 3, and 6. All right, for the number 15, I'm going to have 1 times 15. And then it's not an even number, so I know it's not divisible by 2. So now I'm going to try the next smallest number. So I'm going to try 3. And I know that 15 is divisible by 3. It is 3 times 5. And then I think, okay, it's not divisible by 4. It's not divisible by 6. And I can go all the way up and I can test numbers. But I find that it is 1, 3, 5, and 15. Okay, now 16. I know 1 times 16. It is even, so it's divisible by 2. So I have 2 times 8. But then I'm going to try 3, not divisible by 3. But then I get 4. And we know that 4 times 4 is 16. So now we're going to list these in order from least to greatest. We have 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. Is everybody comfortable finding factors? Thinking about what are the numbers that multiply together to make a number, okay? So let's go ahead and look at activities 2. It says find all the factors for each of the following numbers. All right. So what I want you to do is go ahead and work on this for a minute. Go ahead and list out the factors for 2. List out the factors for 3, 4, and 5. Stop after you've done number 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll check on them and then we'll finish up the rest of it. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. What are my only factors of 2? 1 and 2, good. What about 3? 1 and 3. What about 4? 1, 2, and 4. What about 5? 1 and 5. Any questions about those? Any questions about any of those? All right, keep going and do 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so let's take a look at these. What are my factors of 6? 1, 2, 3, 6. What about 7? 1 and 7. 8. 1, 2, 4, and 8. What about 9? 1, 3, and 9. And 10. 1, 2, 5, and 10. Okay, so remember that all we're doing is thinking about what numbers multiply by another number to make that number. All right. In a couple of sections over, we'll be talking about prime and composite numbers. Look at these numbers that only are numbers multiplied by 1 and itself. These are what we call prime numbers. Okay, prime numbers are numbers that are not divisible by any other numbers other than 1 in itself. Okay, like I said, that's going to be, I think it's less than 8 that we'll be jumping to in a little bit. But I just wanted to go ahead and point that out since we've already kind of listed them out. Everything else is called composite. So prime numbers, factors are only 1 times itself, and then composite has other numbers just like 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10 all have other factors other than 1 in itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on activities 3, page 13. It is practicing our signed numbers some more. So what we're going to do is we are going to work on the left-hand column together for top and bottom. And then we will do, we'll do a couple of the right hand, but then I'll leave the rest of that for homework, okay? So let's go through our rules, positives and negatives. When I am adding with the same sign, my sign is the same. When I'm adding with opposite signs, take the sign of the larger and find the difference. One of the things we didn't review a minute ago was when I subtract. If I'm subtracting, I change it to adding the opposite. Okay, so let's go through these first. I have 24 plus 5. Both of these are positive, so I'm going to 5 is 29. Oh, I guess there's a lag in my, let's see, there it is. Okay. Now the next one, I have a oh, my screen went away, hang on. All right, y'all there? Sorry, something happened to mine. There we go. Is it doing okay now? Okay, cool. All right, so hopefully we won't lag anymore. I've got a -5 plus a positive 62. I have opposite signs, so I've got to look at my larger value to determine my sign. 62 is bigger than 5, and so I know my answer is going to be positive. Now I'm going to take the difference. I'm going to subtract 62 minus 5, okay? So that's going to give me 57. Take the sign of the larger, find the difference. All right, now I have -6 minus a -54. Remember that if I have subtraction, I want to change it to adding the opposite. So since I am changing from subtraction to addition, I have to change my -54 to a positive 54. Now I've got my situation where I have a negative and a positive. I have opposite signs. Now I've got to take the sign of the larger. 54 is my larger, so I'm going to take up that positive sign and I'm going to subtract 54 minus 6 is 48. Okay. I keep getting a message that my internet connection is unstable. So if something happens and I were to drop out and lose y'all, hopefully we should be able just to connect back through the same link that you did before, but hopefully we'll be okay. All righty, so opposite signs, the sign of the larger is negative. And now I'm going to take the difference, 54 minus 49. So I'm going to come over here and write 54 minus 49. That's going to be 14, and that's going to go down to 4. So 14 minus 9 is 5. So my answer is negative 5. Subtraction. I need to change this to add the opposite. So if I change to addition, I now have to change this to a negative 46 because I have to add the opposite sign. So now the sign of my larger is a negative. And I'm going to have 46 minus 24, and that's going to give me 22. 6 minus 4 is 2, 4 minus 2 is 2, negative 22. And then the last one, I have a positive 84 plus a negative 25. My larger value is positive, so I know that's going to be, my answer will be positive. And then 84 minus 25, it's going to give me 14. 8 becomes 7, so 14 minus 5 is 9, and 7 minus 2 is 5. So this will be positive 59. Any questions on those? Again, it's just going to take practice with our signs. All righty. Now let's go ahead and look at multiplication. We have a whole different set of rules for multiplying and dividing with positives and negatives. All right, so the first one is 5 times 12. Both positive, so same sign, positive answer. So I'm going to go ahead and write my sign, same signs, positive answer. And 5 times 12 is 60. 6 times negative 8. Opposite signs, negative answer. And 6 times 8 is 48. The next one, negative 3 times positive 7. Opposite signs are going to give me a negative answer. And 3 times 7 is 21. Now I have negative 5 times negative 11. Same signs. When I multiply and it's the same signs, I have a positive answer. And 5 times 11 is 55. 13 times negative 2. Opposite signs, negative answer. And 13 times 2 is 26. Negative 10 times positive 12. Opposite signs, negative answer. 10 times 12, 120. 5 times negative 7. Opposite signs, negative answer. 5 times 7, 35. 6 times 9. Same signs, positive answer. Positive 54. Negative 7 times negative 6. Same signs, positive answer. 7 times 6 is 42. Any questions about that? Now let's go ahead and look over at the other column. So I want to practice a little bit. I want to look at these over here. And I want to remember that depending on the number of negatives in our problem will determine if it's a positive or negative solution. So let's see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little note down here that says an odd number of negative, let's see if I can, negative, actually I'll just, instead of writing the symbol, I'll write it out. Gives a negative solution. So if I have an odd number of negatives, I'm going to have a negative solution. An even number of negatives this won't give me enough room. Actually, I'll move it up a little bit. Let's see. Hang on. Sorry. I don't want that. An even number of negatives gives a, see if that's going to fit, positive solution. Okay, odd number negative, even number positive. So let's take a look at this. I have -4 times +12. I have an odd number of negatives, so I know I'm going to have a negative solution, and 4 times 12 is 48. Let's jump down to 5 times -7 times 2. I only have one negative in there, so I have an odd number, so I'm going to have a negative solution. 5 times 7 is 35. 35 times 2 is 70. Let's look at the one below it. -8 times -4 times -2. 3 negatives. An odd number of negatives gives me a negative solution. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 times 2 is 64. Now let's jump down 2 below that. -7 times -1 times 6. -7 times -1 times 6. 2 negatives. I have an even number of negatives, so I'm going to have a positive solution. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 6 is 42. Okay? So odd number of negatives is a negative solution. An even number of negatives is a negative solution. I mean, an even number of negatives is a positive solution. Okay? So if you want to write that note on there to help you remember. So your first part of homework will be to finish up this part on page 13. Okay, so page 13, activities 3, right column. I'm going to start writing that down. And remember, if you've got, where's my pre-algebra one? What do I do with it? Here it is. If you have printed out this sheet right here that has our lessons, then this is the place where you can be writing your homework, or if you just write it in a notebook, or if you have some other place to write it, that is totally up to you. But the main thing is just to make sure you're writing it somewhere so you know what your homework is. So we said that this will be page 13, activities 3, right columns. Okay, let's go ahead and turn to page 14. All right, page 14, we're practicing with that absolute value. We're going to do a few of these together, and then we'll leave the rest of them for homework. All right, so let's take a look. Remember that we are going to start off by looking at each individual absolute value. Absolute value is the distance from 0 on a number line, so we know that it is going to be positive. So what I've got to do though now is I'm looking at each individual number here. Okay, so the first one I'm looking at is the absolute value of -7. So what I'm going to do is I know the absolute value of -7 is 7. So I'm going to write that below it. I have my plus sign. The absolute value of -23 is 23. So now when I add these together, I'm just adding 7 plus 23. And 7 plus 23 is 30. Everybody good with that? Let's look at the next one. The absolute value of -9 plus the absolute value of 26. All right, so the first thing I'm going to look at is the absolute value of -9 will be 9 plus the absolute value of 26 is 26, and 9 plus 26 is 35. All right, the next one, the absolute value of 25 is 25 minus the absolute value of -4 is 4. And 25 minus 4 is 21. All right, this one's going to be a little tricky. My negative sign is in front of my absolute value. So it is the opposite of the absolute value of 19 plus the absolute value of -3. So let's take it step by step. The first thing I have to do is find the absolute value of 19. The absolute value of 19 is 19. But this says what is the opposite of the absolute value? So the opposite of the absolute value of 19 is -19. So because that negative is outside my absolute value, I'm going to put -19 plus the absolute value of -3 is 3. Now I have to stop and think about what is my rule for adding a positive and a negative. Opposite signs take the sign of the larger. 19 is larger and it's the negative. Now I find the difference of the two numbers, and 19 minus 3 is 16. Any questions on that? Did everybody follow that okay? So let's look at the next one. Go ahead and do the next one. I want you to do the next one on your own. The opposite of the absolute value of 21 minus the absolute value of 8. And then after we finish this one, in a minute, we'll get ready and take our break. All right, so in this one, I have the opposite of the absolute value of 21. So I have negative 21 minus the absolute value of 8. All right, so now I'm subtracting. So if I need to, I can change this to adding the opposite. So that means I would need to change this to addition. And then I would have to make this a negative 8 and 21 plus a negative 8, negative 21 plus a negative 8. My signs are the same, and I add them together. So negative 29. If you missed it, I want you to look through it, see what mistake you made. And then let's go ahead and take our break. We've got 5 minutes. So it's 1:30. We'll be back at 1:35. If you have questions, feel free to ask.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, on activities 3 on page 13,
Page 13, activities 3. Okie doke.
you said a odd number of negatives are going to give me a negative solution, but when we did -8 times -4 times -2, those are all positive. So would it still be a -64?
I'm glad you caught that. I mean, I totally wrote down the wrong thing, didn't I? It should be a positive 64. Yes, if I make mistakes, y'all call me on it. I just wrote down it. No. I'm sorry. No. Okay, so there's 3 negatives. 3 is an odd number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's that's a negative. It's the odd number of negatives, not that 64 is odd. Not that your answer is odd, but it's since -8, -4, -2, there's 3 negatives. So it would be a negative answer.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but you can see the one that's a couple below it that had -7 and -1. I had an even number of negatives, and that's positive. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have you graded our stuff yet?
Do what?
Have you graded our homework yet?
Not yet. No, I have not. I'll be working on that tomorrow. All right, Olivia should be back in just a minute. So let's go ahead and take a look at that right-hand column. Now notice that in these examples, we can see that we actually have some computation inside our absolute value symbols. So the absolute value symbol can act like a symbol of grouping, just like parentheses do. And so we know that we have to do whatever the computation is inside the absolute value sign before we can do what we need to do on the outside. Okay, so we are going to start with this one right here, the 9 plus 8, the absolute value of 9 plus 8 plus the absolute value of 13 minus 7. So we're going to take this step by step, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 9 plus 8. So the absolute value of 9 plus 8 is the absolute value of 17 plus the absolute value of 13 minus 7. 13 minus 7 is going to be 6. So now I have the absolute value of 17 plus the absolute value of 6. So that means I've got 17 plus 6, and that equals 23. Okay, so the first thing I had to do was the computation. Then I had to take the absolute value of each number, and then I added them together. So we're going to do the same thing with the one underneath it. Remember, outside the absolute value means the opposite of the absolute value, and 14 minus 6 is going to be 8, plus the absolute value of 5 minus 7. I'm subtracting a larger number from a smaller number, so I know it's going to be negative, and that will be negative 2. So now I'm taking the opposite of the absolute value of 8 plus the absolute value of negative 2. So the opposite of the absolute value of 8 is going to give me negative 8 plus the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. So now I have a negative 8 plus 2. I have opposite signs. So I take the sign of the larger, which is negative, and find the difference of the numbers. 8 minus 2 is 6. Any questions about that? With these, I've got several different steps I need to go through, but I just want to take my time and take it one step at a time. All right, so this next one, I have the opposite of the absolute value of 16 plus 4. 16 plus 4 is 20. So I have the opposite of the absolute value of 20 minus the absolute value of 32 minus 8. So what, 32 minus 8 is going to be 24. So now I'm going to take this a step where I have the opposite of the absolute value of 20 is negative 20 minus the absolute value of 24 is 24. So I have negative 20 minus 24. So again, I can think about changing this from subtraction to addition. And the way I'm going to do that, if I can get my pen to bring up a different color, there we go, is change to adding the opposite. So I had to make 24 a negative 24. So now I have negative 20 plus a negative 24. A negative plus a negative is a negative, and 20 plus 24 is 44. Okay? So now I want you to go ahead and work on these top two on your own. The absolute value of 36 minus the absolute value of 25. And the opposite of the absolute value of negative 15 minus the absolute value of negative 12. Work on those two. Okie doke. So let's take a look at these. The first thing I need to do is the absolute value of 36 is 36. minus the absolute value of 25 is 25. And 36 minus 25 is going to be 11. Any questions on that one? Okay. Our next one, I have the opposite of the absolute value of negative 15. The absolute value of negative 15 is going to be 15. The opposite of that is negative 15. We have our minus sign, and then we take the absolute value of negative 12, which is going to be 12. Now here we are subtracting, so we can change it to add the opposite. And so I have a negative 15 plus a negative 12. So I have a negative plus a negative is going to give me a negative, and then I add them together. So 15 and 12 is 27. Any questions on either of those? Is everybody feeling a little more comfortable with absolute value? We're going to continue practicing with this on Thursday as we prepare for our test. I'll have some practice sheets that we'll work through together to make sure that everybody feels comfortable with it. So on Thursday, we'll have our review and we'll work on some practice problems for our test. And then the following Monday, I will give you your test. And so what that will look like is for the first one, I will email it out. So I'll email you the test. I will also upload it on the Homeschool Life site. One of the things I'm trying to decide is if it's worth the time to set up a Google Classroom. I haven't decided about that yet, but we'll have it, I'll email it to you and I'll have it uploaded on the site. And so we'll talk about where you can find the test and all that stuff. So the actual test you won't get it until next Monday. We'll spend time on Thursday practicing, reviewing, answering any questions that we may have. Your test will go home on Monday, so that means it'll be due by the next Thursday's class. Okay, so that's how we'll kind of do things. I know my schedule has dates on it, and so right now, I had originally set that schedule for us to be in class, and I'm trying to take things a little bit slower since we're virtual right now, just trying to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that we're doing okay. So we may be off here and there as far as the dates go, but we'll readjust as we need to, okay? Alrighty, so that is absolute value. So now let's go ahead and turn the page, and our next section is dealing with multiples. So lesson 6, we talked about factors. We talked about factors being the smaller numbers that multiply together to make a bigger number. 6 times 4 is 24. 3 times 12 is 36. Whatever it is, we are multiplying smaller numbers together to make a larger number. Now, in this situation, a multiple, basically a multiple is the same as multiplication or as a times table. That's kind of what we're talking about here. So a multiple is the result of skip counting. Okay, so basically when we talk about our times tables, these are multiples. Okay, 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, so on and so forth. Multiples are where we multiply a number by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, to find a bigger number. Okay, and it's talking about how it's a result of skip counting, because if we did 4 times 3, that's the same as 4 plus 4 plus 4. It's adding 4 3 times. Okay. Now we can also see that 12 is also a multiple of 1, 2, 3, 6, and 12, because if I was looking at the number 12, whoop, wrong thing. If I'm looking at the number 12, I know that I can do 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Those are all factors of 12. I can multiply them. And so that's what they've done, is they've taken each of these factors and put them in order from least to greatest here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12. Okay, so when we talk about listing multiples, we want to list them in order from least to greatest. Okay, so I'm sorry, when listing factors, we're listing from least to greatest. Same thing with multiples though. We're going to look at this here where it says list 5 multiples of each of the following numbers. So that means I'm going to take each number and multiply it by 1, by 2, by 3, by 4, and by 5. But I'm just going to list them out in order, okay? So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. All we did is list the first 5 multiples of 2. Same thing with 5. The first 5 multiples, 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3, 15. 5 times 4, 20. And 5 times 5, 25. 7. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2, 14. 7 times 3, 21. 7 times 4, 28. 7 times 5, 35. Okay, pretty simple. Same thing as like doing times tables, just listing multiples. So let's go ahead and I want you to write 5 multiples of each of the following numbers. Okay, go ahead and mark off 2, 5, and 7. We just did those, so you don't have to do them again. So mark off 2, 5, and 7. You don't have to do those. Do 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10. List the first 5 multiples of each of the numbers.
Can I go sharpen my pencil?
You're good. All righty, so let's take a look at these. First 5 multiples of 3. We would have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 4 is going to be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. 6, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Any questions about any of those so far? All right, let's look at 8, 9, and 10. If I can get my page to work right. There we go. Okay, starting with 8. We'd have 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. 9, 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, and then 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Any questions about multiples? Multiples, just think of as like your times tables, okay? All right, now we are looking at factors again. And remember, factors are going to be the smaller numbers that multiply together. Why can I not get this? There we go. Smaller numbers that multiply together to equal a number. Okay, so let's think about 11. What times what gives me 11? So really 11 is not divisible by anything other than 1 in itself. So I have 1 times 11, so I'm just going to have 1 and 11. All right, let's think about 12. I know I have 1 times 12. It is even, so it's going to be divisible by 2. So I'm going to have 2 times 6. Then after 2, I'm going to try 3. 3 will go into 12 evenly, and that will be 3 times 4. Okay. Then I know it's not divisible by 5. I already have 6 up there. So once I start repeating digits, I know I'm done with listing my factors. So if I was to put these in order, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12. Good job. All right, 13. What about factors of 13? I only have 1 times 13, so 1 and 13. Remember we talked about prime factors, numbers that only have 1 times itself. 11 and 13 are both prime factors. All right, 14. I know I've got 1 times 14. It is even, so it's divisible by 2, and it'll be 2 times 7. I could try 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. None of them will work, and I've already gotten to 7. So once I start repeating, then I'm done. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 7, and 14. All right, I want you to go ahead and do 15 through 20 on your own. List the factors of 15 through 20. All righty, let's go ahead and take a look at these. So 15, what I'll do is we'll go ahead and list these, and then if you have any questions, if you missed something and you're not sure why, be sure to let me know, okay? So 15, we are going to have 1, 3, 5, and 15. Any questions? Then for 16, we will have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Questions? All right. 17 is prime. So it's just 1 and 17. 18 will be 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. Any questions on that one? 19, just 1 and 19. And then 20. 1,
I need your consent on a few items to continue.
2, 4, 5, 10, 20. Any questions? Any of those that you forgot? Any numbers that you left out? Does everybody feel fairly comfortable listing factors? Okay, very good. All righty, so let's take a look at page 16. All righty, so page 16, some more review. Let's just do activities 4 for homework. Okay, so it'll be page 16, activities 4, signed numbers. Okay, think about your rules, addition, subtraction, multiplication, think about your negatives. So let's go through really quick and make sure we're on the same page as far as homework. Our first thing that we did was activities 3, the right-hand column on page, what page was that? Page 13. We did activities 4 on that page. We've done our multiples. So we've got activities 4 on page 16. All right, so that's all I've got for us today. It is 2:05. We're actually a bit early today. So one of two things, okay? If you want to sit and work on these assignments, page 13, activities 3, right-hand column, page 16, activities 4. If you want to go ahead and work on these right now while you've got me, you can sit and work on them and get your work done, and then you won't have any homework, okay? Or if you're ready to sign off, if you've had a rough day and you're ready to be done for the day and you want to do this for homework, then that's up to you, okay? So you have the option to either go ahead and sign off and be done early, or you can stay and get your work done and not have any homework, okay? So whatever you choose to do is up to you. Just know that your assignment, all of this is due to be uploaded on Thursday before class, okay? So if you want to go, you're welcome to go. If you want to stay, stay. But be sure to ask questions if you have questions, okay? Good deal.
So all we have for homework is page 13, activity 3, and page 16, activity 4.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. You gonna stay and work? Hey, may as well. Go on and get it done. So tell me how everything's going for you.
It's going to, like, math-wise.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Like, math-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I had
Okay.
to rewatch a little bit about the absolute values. last
Okay.
week.
Okay, and doing that, did that help, or tell me how you're doing with that?
Yeah, it helped.
Okay, good.
calculate anymore. It was just like,
Okay, yeah. And it's something that is, you know, just kind of learning those rules. And in the very beginning, it's something that's just a little different and a little weird. And so I'm proud of you for going back and watching the video and doing that and taking that initiative. So that's great of you. You seem to be doing a really good job. You seem to be very strong in math. And so I wanted to let you know that you were doing a fantastic job.
let's see. Okay.
All righty.
The small bit on the on page 13, activities 3 says one sec.
Page 13, activities 3, right-hand column.
Because I already done that bit.
Okay, awesome.
Actually, I'll just read it off to you.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let me get. Okay. What you got?
66,
Uh-huh.
-7,
Good.
136,
Uh-huh.
18,
Uh-huh.
negative 106,
Very good.
negative 46,
Great.
and then negative 48,
Uh-huh.
negative 48,
Uh-huh.
negative 70,
Great.
negative 64,
Yep.
negative 72,
Yes.
42,
Yes.
negative 132,
Yeah.
90,
Mm-hmm.
negative 77.
Awesome. Great job.
Yay, and then the other one.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Okay. Ready?
Let's see. We're on page 16.
Yes.
Activities 4. Okay, go down the left-hand side and then the right-hand side.
Okay. 55.
Okay. I'm sorry, say that one again.
55.
55. Uh-huh.
Negative 9.
Very good.
80.
Yes.
55.
Uh-huh.
42.
Great.
Negative 24.
Uh-huh.
55.
Good.
Negative 142.
Very good.
Negative 42.
Uh-huh.
80. Negative 81.
Good.
Negative 72.
Uh-huh.
Negative 140.
Awesome. Great job. Fantastic. And now you're done with your homework. So even better. You're done. You got them all right. Don't even have to worry about it. All you'll have to do is just upload it and get it turned in. Good job. Fantastic. Well, all righty. Well, you are done for the day. So I hope you have a great afternoon, and I will see you on Thursday.
Will do.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.